Hey guys, what's up? Jam here, aka Jamalaeus. Kind of with an extra credit episode, or maybe I'll call this a Ram Jam episode. This weekend, Fred and I are off, or this week I should say, we're off from Gaming History 101. So I thought I'd go back and record a solo podcast. I haven't done a solo podcast for quite some time. Maybe it's Bubble Bobble I did last time. It feels like so long ago since I did these. I really enjoy doing these solo shows, but I just never really post most of them. I've recorded a few in the past as well, but never decided to put them on YouTube for some reason. But hey, I'm back to it today, and I thought this might be a good weekend just to get back into the swing of things, since we're having a little a week off from things. And also just kind of give you an update. This show's not going to be particularly about anything in particular, although what I'm going to discuss later in the show is I will discuss kind of sort of more car boot stuff, because I know some people have shown an interest in that. Kind of a bit of just going around looking like game hunting, really, sort of like just the thrill of hunting out in the wild, as people say. And I'll probably cover what I've been playing as well, and that's really all this show's going to be. It will have a retro focus, so I will be discussing retro related games, maybe a few modern things as well, because I do dabble in the modern games too. So yeah, I thought what I'd do to start with for this show is kind of give you guys maybe an update. I did want to do this in an article, but I've just been very, very busy, and why not just jump up on the podcast and just literally just tell you guys kind of what's a little bit of background on what's been happening, because as you know, not too long ago I did take a little bit of a hiatus from Gaming History 101, and there's no problems, nothing's gone wrong or anything. I simply moved. I think we made that quite clear on the podcast. I moved from a location I was living up in Cambridgeshire in England, and me and my partner, we moved down to sort of the south coast. Really, we're now living in a different area of the country. Although England isn't a very big country, as most of you know, but it's still 4 hours away, and any type of move is usually kind of stressful. It involves a lot. We had quite a lot to do in that period. In fact, I was surprised how much still needs to be done, and in a way, we're still kind of sorting out a few things despite moving. Some of the things that I revealed that came out during that period is I decided to let go a lot of my game collection just for ease of the move. It wasn't for the reasons people thought, actually. Some people thought that it was influenced by, but possibly by my partner or for other reasons, but no, it really wasn't. It's something I had kind of in the background for quite a long time, actually. Because the problem with this, the hobby of gaming and collecting games sometimes is you just end up with so many and you just don't know what to do with them sometimes. And I think it's honest to say that, you know, we'll never get around to playing all of these games in our lifetime, but you know, we enjoy the hobby. I mean, I enjoy getting these games. I usually pick these up with the best intentions to play them at some point, but you know, you get to that harsh reality where you think, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. So I kind of I decided to do like a massive kind of purge really before we moved, and I think I got rid of like over half of the things I owned. Mostly I kept a lot of the retro stuff just because for me it's quite nostalgic. A lot of my Mega Drive stuff I kept, because that's the console I kind of grew up with. I kept a lot of my Master System stuff, even though I only started collecting Master System stuff quite only in the grand scheme of things quite recently, but I have a bit of a fondness for the Master System, so I decided to keep a lot of that as well. A lot of it really was sort of Xbox 360, PS3 games, just because those are so easily accessible digitally, and if I really, really miss those games, I could probably just repurchase them later digitally, whether on the consoles or maybe even if I get around to getting a decent gaming PC that can play games like that. So I could let them go quite easy, and I just didn't mind really. But most other things were kept. But that was hard work doing that. I got quite lucky actually, where I found a buyer who brought majority of it, as well as a lot of gaming merchandise I had, and they kind of we came to like a sort of a lump sum for sale. I think I gave them probably a stonking deal for what they're, because I'm assuming they're just going to go and sell the stuff I give them. I think they're one of those couples, a lovely couple actually, really, really nice bunch of guys, and they really helped me out actually in a bit of a stressful period. And they basically they took a lot of it off my hands, and I think that they're in the business of basically buying mass quantities of gaming related items or nerd related items as they used to as they advertise, and I think they sell it for profit for themselves. Although they did tell me they did stuff for charity, so I gave them some extra stuff actually, because apparently they told me they fixed consoles up, and they well, so they say. I couldn't vouch for that for sure, but I gave them a lot of my broken PS2s. I had a lot of them which I'd accumulated from various car boot sales with the intention of fixing them myself, but I just thought just let them go, and I need to keep them. So yeah, that was something that we got out of the way, and then of course the move is that's a bit of a stress, and then you get these kind of like settling feelings, don't you, when you move? It's you gotta adjust to a new area. We don't know anybody down here. We don't have any friends or family, but neither of us, so we're not near anybody. I in particular had to find new work as well. My partner, the reason we moved here is my partner found a dream job of hers, and what I'm hoping, and I'm sure she's hoping, of course, as well, is that it leads to some better things for her career. It's funny actually. People have sort of said. I had a guy recently I was speaking to when I was at a business, I guess you call it a business meeting, thing I went to in London recently, saying apparently I was very selfless to do that. But in all honesty, I think it was good for me as well. I mean, things hadn't. Well, the reason we were in Cambridgeshire, things hadn't really worked out amazingly for me. This is not supposed to be a sob story, I should say, but I guess this is just the route we're going with for the podcast today. But things hadn't really gone well for me in my job wise and things. So I felt that maybe it would be good for me to have a change as well. And change involves challenge, it involves stress. It really kind of feels like I'm starting again a bit down here, but yeah, we're adjusting, and that's sort of despite I've made a return to the podcast. It has been a little bit of a challenge. I'm not able to kind of do the live shows of Gaming History Online effectively yet, and I don't know when I will be able to, just because I've had to take on work that kind of, I guess, conflicts with that. For me, I have to stay up quite late to do Gaming History 101. I absolutely love doing Gaming History 101. It's a huge thing I really enjoy. A little bit of background about me, I don't know if I've ever said this on the show, I might have done briefly, is I used to be involved in radio quite a long time ago. I ran my own radio show at university, which I was very proud of, and had things been different, maybe I would have sort of stuck in that sort of area, but it was all just a hobby for me, and I really, really enjoyed it. I always wanted to kind of keep my hand in some form of radio, and having the opportunity later down the road to do something like Gaming History 1 was always really a privilege, and I love doing stuff like this. It's been absolutely wonderful, and I do hope to continue doing it more and more, and providing as much as content as I can. But of course, the term we all use these days, RL, does happen, and we have to sometimes things just go a bit slower, don't they? We just can't provide content as quickly as we would like to. With that in perspective, I've been working on a Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap review, which I've had on Xbox One, the Xbox, about to say 360 for some reason, the Xbox One for quite some time. Played through the game, finished it, absolutely love it, but I've been actually trying to edit a review video, but I didn't realise how much time that involved. I've recorded the footage, I'm recording the dialogue for the review, but that's just taking longer than I thought. But I'm getting there. I should have a written review because I want to get out something for that quite soon. But it's all just finding the time, because a lot of the time I've had to take up recently has been for RL reasons, I guess. And there's still more to come later in the year. So it's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. But that's life for all of us. Things get in the way. But that being said, let's move on for the sort of the boring stuff, shall we? And let's move on to some other stuff. So I'll just kind of talk about sort of like car boot things. I want to just talk about the story of today, shall we? What I did. So as I've said on Gaming History X, when I did it as a topic about car boot sales, it's basically flea markets, or like tabletop sales, or whatever your preferred term is. I've been doing this for quite a while now, actually, and I don't do it as often. In fact, I've had to adjust down here because there's finding places that do this sort of thing, and we have one that's actually quite local to where we live, which is pretty handy. So I don't have to travel too far for it. Whereas when I lived a bit further north, I had to travel a bit further to go to different car boot sales. But not so much the case down here. Although it does feel like a different world. I mean, I think I briefly said on Gaming History Works that this is really where I've never ever seen any microcomputer games up in the area I used to live in, but I've seen quite a few down here already. I haven't purchased any because I don't really have the need for microcomputer games. When I say microcomputer, I'm talking about like those tapes. So there's mostly ZX Spectrum games. So I've seen a few Amstrad games as well, actually, all tape based. But I don't have an Amstrad and I don't have a ZX Spectrum, and I don't need to collect those sort of things. I mean, if I come across the console, or I might be intrigued to pick up a few of the tapes as well. But I'm happy to go through those games on emulation now. I don't need to. I don't need to get those. But you never. I say that now, and things might change. So I go out as often as I can do, and it's a hobby that both me and my partner actually share. We both quite enjoy actually doing it. It's just fun to kind of get out. You get a bit of exercise. You walk around these places, you see what people got to sell. Most of the time, at least these days, I'm striking out and I'm not finding anything. I just, but there has been periods where I've done quite well. I've found like various retro games in certain places. I mean, my best find I still probably rate as the best retro find is when I was just driving around at I guess these were backyard sales or yard sales, as you would call them in America, but I don't think it even had a name. I think they just called it a village sale of some sort. So people were basically just selling stuff from their front gardens or front yard, and I found in one of these sales a box of Master System games basically, and that was how I think my love affair with the Master System collecting began. It was just a box full of them. There's quite a few games in it and quite a lot of good ones too. I remember I joked that I found Y's or Y's Origins in there, but the game wasn't there sadly, but it has the box. I still have that box and I still need to find the cart for that game. But it had a lot of other cool little games in there as well. I think just off the top of my head, it had a lot of sort of like typical like sports games. It had like the boxing game as well. I think it's just called Heavyweight Boxing or something like that. I'm really just drawing a blank now about there was some really good games in there, but there wasn't one. It'd be easy if I just saw what I didn't find, I guess. Like there wasn't Wonder Boy and there wasn't Phantasy Star, but they had they had the Sonic games. They had the complete in box Sonic the Hedgehog, complete in box Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic Chaos as well was in there, complete in box. That was pretty good. So a few had like Teddy Boy, that platformer in there. Some really just a really good little find, and the lady really asked for very little. I actually gave her a little bit extra because I thought I think there was probably over 20 games in that box, and I felt it would have only been fair to give her just a bit more because of I know what some of this retro stuff goes for, and it only seemed fair. So yeah, that was a box, and then on the same day as I drove home, I came across a farmyard barn, and I went in there, and it also said stuff for sale. Come in, have a look. I thought, well, you never know. Let's go into this farmyard barn, and there wasn't really anything there. I had a little look around, but then in this dusty corner, I find a bag that has N64 in it, and there's a little shoebox next to it. I open up the shoebox, and I find Resident Evil 2. And I was so happy. It was a complete in-box version as well, because I'm such a fan of Resident Evil 2. And that game, it's not one of these sort of things like, I found a really expensive game that's really goes for so much money on eBay. And no, I really just like Resident Evil, and I didn't really want to spend the £50, which the cart only goes for. So I found all of that, and I asked the farmer. I like rushed it. I'm assuming he was the farmer. He was the guy that owned the barn. Asked him what did he want for the. I was even only just interested in Resident Evil, but he just said have the lot for a very, very, very cheap price, a crazy cheap price. Unbelievable the price he asked for that as well. And I gave him a little bit more too, because again, it just didn't seem fair. Which he seemed very shocked about. Well, he didn't seem shocked actually. I think he just goes, fair enough. He goes, but that was. It wasn't just the Resident Evil game. What I got in that like little haul there was I got Resident Evil 2 complete in box. The cart looked like it was never been played. The box looked a bit ratty, but it is cardboard. Those N64 games don't really, don't look great unless you literally put them in those little plastic coverings. It came with N64 as well, with an expansion port, little expansion cartridge that goes in the front port. One controller. One of the controllers is third party and doesn't work, but doesn't matter. I didn't know that until I got it back home. Had all the wires, had all the connections. Several games, lots of games, mostly cart only. It had both of the Castlevanias were in that little bag, the little case that it was in. There was what else do we have in there? We had Sub-Zero Mythology, the Mortal Kombat Mythology game, that terrible game, which what I loved about how I found that is that was like slipped in a little back pocket as well, so it's almost like put in this little separate compartment. I was really happy to find that. Zelda was in there, GoldenEye was in there, I think Perfect Dark was in there as well, Jet Force Gemini, like quite sort of a lot of popular N64 games, a lot of games for the value, and then the shoebox, as well as containing the complete box Resident Evil 2, it had loads of manuals for games that weren't even in that pack as well, surprisingly. So there was obviously maybe the person that got rid of a few games, but that was one of my favourite finds ever, really. And that same day, and if I'm getting that one day, and I remember calling a really close buddy of mine and saying to him what I'd found, and he was just it's really just fun to share that experience with somebody and just share that kind of joy and love. And I have kept all of that. None of that stuff was sold when I moved. I kept all of those all together. That Resident Evil 2 N64 game I'd ideally not like to get rid of. I mean, I have Resident Evil 2 on N64 and PlayStation 1 only still, but I would quite like to kind of get every port imaginable if I can. I find it a reasonable price. There was also a port on Dreamcast. I would quite like the GameCube port as well, but I have seen the GameCube port before, but it usually goes for, out in the wild as well, but it usually goes for quite a high price, which is... it just comes with the territory, doesn't it? Anyway, so moving on to kind of going to sort of the current day. So I went out today and had a look around the car boot. Lovely sunny day, good blue skies over here in England, and it was because we had quite a bit of rain over here recently, so it was nice to get a bit of good weather too. And so do what you usually do, you're just kind of scanning around. I don't really get there like at the crack of dawn at these places, which is probably, I think, if you want to find anything, is probably when you need to go these days. You need to wake up. You gotta get there, but I'm not really a huge fan of doing that because it's usually that's when everything will be more expensive, and you usually get these kind of hordes of people crowding around these people as they get stuff out of their car boot. It feels just a bit daunting, really. I feel a bit bad for those people as well that are selling. It's like, give them some breathing space at least. So they're like, people are like grabbing stuff before they even remove stuff from their car. It's a bit, I don't know, it just seems a bit crazy, really. There is some advantages going later in the day. If you go sort of like towards the end of a car boot sale, you can usually get a better deal because people are like, they're usually packing up and they'll sell stuff for cheaper. But I kind of went, I guess, in the middle, I guess. So I gotta go in there, just after 9 o'clock, whereas these sort of things usually start after sort of 7 o'clock. Didn't find a lot today, but I did find surprisingly, I did see a guy was selling a Mega Drive Model 1 actually, and a lot of games, including Roller to the Rescue, which is a game I've been trying to find actually. That's the elephant game, and it had a game called Zany Golf, which looked kind of interesting, as well as just your typical Mega Drive games like Altered Beast, Sonic, and all those sort of things. And I asked him, and how much do you want for that lot? And he wanted quite a sizable amount for it. He wanted £50 for that, but I decided again, I don't carry that much when I go to car boot. You're lucky to get. I usually take a small amount of money with me. I don't spend sort of huge amounts on stuff ideally from a car boot. So I declined. I was curious if he'd sell the stuff individually. He wouldn't. He wanted to sell his bundle, and that's fair. So you just leave it there. But what I found really funny is I'd never seen this game, Zany Golf, in the wild before. When I say the wild, I'm talking about like in the car boot sale or a charity shop, or like in a retail store as well. And I just a seller just a few pictures down had a couple of Mega Drive games. They're all sports games, and one of them was Zany Golf. So in the same day, I see Zany Golf twice, despite never ever seeing this game before. And he sold it to me for just £1, which is brilliant. So I'll do that all day, every day. He had a ton of other sports games with him, but I was I'm good for sports games. I don't need any more. So that was and that was the car boot. I mean, you come across the popular stuff being sold at car boots these days is kind of PS3, Xbox 360. Most people are trying to get rid of that sort of stuff now, which is quite common. But like you'll see a lot of Call of Duties, you'll see a lot of sports games, loads of FIFAs in England. So the football game, a lot of people getting rid of that game. Usually will have various iterations of it, so they'll have like FIFA 15, 14, 16, every year version, and nobody wants them. Nobody wants them at all because they're annual releases, aren't they? It feels like the Call of Duty games are getting that way too. Despite the fact I usually enjoy the single players of Call of Duty games, but I just don't usually get into those multiplayers just because I'm no good, and I don't have friends that play them. If I was obviously part of a team, I'd probably enjoy it more. But I find the single players fun. They're a good little lark. People like usually they like Michael Bay films, aren't they? Boom boom. But yeah, I find them entertaining. Even today, I haven't played every single Call of Duty game, but if I find it cheap, I'll pick it up. I'll give it a whirl. Absolutely. But although funny enough, when I said that, I think I got rid of every Call of Duty game I had in the big purge of the collection. So I guess I could start again from fresh, couldn't I? So yeah, that was that. I did find something that's a bit obscure from the car boot today, which was a fidget cube. I don't know if anyone's heard of this before. So a fidget cube was, I believe, like a popular Kickstarter thing. At least this is just going from my friend. I can't vouch for the accuracy of this. It is basically just a little cube that has like buttons on it or things that you can do. It's, somebody, like, if you're one of those people that likes to click your pens a lot, which I certainly am, so it has like little buttons you can press, little things you can waggle around, little nubs and things, and I thought it's brand new as well, and I got it for a crazy cheap price, and I thought I'd give it a go because sometimes I get a bit stressed in life, as we all do, and sometimes if I'm too stressed, I will turn to the nearest thing that will relieve that stress, which is probably start picking my nails, which is not a good habit to get into. It really isn't. So I got this little fidget cube. Thought maybe that would help with that, because I've been trying to find ways to kind of alleviate that problem for a long time. But yeah, so we'll see how that works. Maybe I'll update you about that in the future. It seems pretty fun though. I've been using it in my pocket already, just when I felt that little urge. So it seems to be it's fun to play around with. There's nothing special to it. It's just like buttons everywhere. I've got it just here. I can see if you can hear some little clicking. See, fidgeting around. Yeah, it seems fun. So I've got a fidget cube. Yeah, that's what the cool kids have, right, these days. Cool. So that's that. So I decided to drive home. I just kind of took a detour because I'm still kind of exploring this area actually down here, and then I came across our favorite secondhand store in this country, which is CEX, or Sex for short. Spelt CEX. And CEX basically is it's a secondhand store which sells DVDs, Blu-rays, games obviously, and as well as consoles and computer parts usually too. They've recently been getting into the retro business because so they've been starting to provide a lot of retro games too, which wasn't something I don't know how recent that was, but they've just kind of started doing now, and it's really cool to see. So that you'll see NES games there and Super Nintendo games. They will probably be ludicrously expensive, but I'm glad they do it, and it's fun to see what they have sometimes. So I drove in, parked up and went into this CEX store, thought I'd check it out as well and see what they had, and it's just fun just sometimes see what they stock and what they're selling it for. In the window I saw straight away a Saturn copy of Alien Trilogy for £12. I don't have a Saturn, sadly. Oh well, I have that game on PlayStation 1 anyway, and I really enjoy Alien Trilogy. I like that on the PlayStation 1. We did cover that on the Game Club. Not probably it might be a year before that actually now, when we did it at the same time as Die Hard Trilogy. Really, but I had quite a fondness for that game just because I'm a big Xenomorph fan, I guess, big fan of the Alien franchise. Although I'm little bit concerned about that Alien Covenant film, but I'll probably still go see it. Maybe I'll share my thoughts on that as well in another podcast. But yeah, so they had that in the window, and I was pretty happy. They had a sort of a kind of a green style PSP in there, which is definitely a colour I'd like, but they were selling it for a price that was just far too much, more than I'd like to pay. I think it's like £58. I was like, which may not seem too bad to some people, but it's like, yeah. I've come across PSPs a lot cheaper out in the wild, and I've got a few PSPs already. I don't need to. I'm only going to get more if I find them for a reasonable deal. And then going to shop in the window, they had a few NES games, nothing particularly special. They sort of lovely. They had like the Duck Hunt cart in there. They did have a copy of Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo, which was being sold for £175, although it looked like it was complete in box. I guess maybe that was part of it. But woo, I'm good. I have a Super Nintendo, but I don't need Mega Man X that badly. They did have one retro game though in the retro section that I was interested in. They had some Game Boy Advance games. They had a complete in box Doom, which I already have. I still have my Game Boy Advance copy of Doom. I got that at launch. I'm still very proud of it to this day. Doom with the green blood on the portable system. And next to Doom, they had the Fantasy. Well, it's just called Phantasy Star Collection. I've been looking for this cart. Well, it kind of is a cart, isn't it? This cartridge, I guess, for a long time for a decent price. And this was going for a price that I was happy to go to pull the trigger on. It was complete in box as well. The box is in kind of ratty condition, but I don't care. I just wanted the game, really. I just want to play it just because it's only the first 3 Phantasy Star games, so just 1, 2 and 3, which is a bit of a shame, really. I'm surprised they didn't just shove 4 in there at the end, but I've always kind of wanted to get play through all of those old Phantasy Star games, but I much prefer stuff, especially RPGs, being portable. It's just so much easier because I travel a lot for work as well, and when I get home, if I'm gaming, I'm probably going to be showing a TV with my partner, and having some sort of portable device to play games is much easier, and it's just easier on the go too. So if I'm having a lunch break, I can play through like RPGs there. If I just want a break, generally it's fun to do. So I've been trying to find this game for quite a while. So yeah, really happy to find that. So I'll be because I did start Phantasy Star, the original, on the Master System version, on the Ultimate Mega Drive collection on the 360 quite a while ago, but I just never got around to finishing, just because again, you need to get access to TV, it's sitting down and playing it, whereas I've always found that if the RPG is just there on a portable device, you just flip the thing open, play it, and you're just good to go. So yeah, I'm really happy to have that, actually. A really cool little game. So as well as that, though, I did pick up 2 other games as well from CEX. I found Namco Museum DS. I've been really going on a big portable kick recently, so been kind of like particularly looking for portable games. Been finding loads of DS games recently that I'm quite happy with. And Namco Museum is a game I already have on probably on I think I have it on the Wii, I believe. But yeah, these games are nothing surprising. It's got Pac-Man, it's got Gallagher, it's got I've got it just here. It's Dig Dug 2. Oh, so that's interesting. It doesn't have the first one. No, it doesn't have Dig Dug. So it's got Pac-Man, Gallagher, Dig Dug 2, Exevius, the Tower of Druaga, Mappy and Glaxian, and then the one that I was very, very interested by, this reason I brought this actually, was Pac-Man Versus. So as you might remember, Pac-Man Versus is the kind of like that GameCube game, which I don't believe we got over here in England. That's one way basically you could play the game. Three people had the Game Boy Advance little consoles, and they were playing as the ghosts. And then, or was it the other one? No, sorry, I'm getting this wrong, aren't I? One person had the Game Boy Advance, and you played as Pac-Man on that little screen, and then everyone else used the TV to play as the ghost, which had like kind of a restricted peripheral view. And it was a really fun multiplayer. I played it at a retro convention in Manchester one year, and I was just having a ton of fun with it. I played it with some random strangers, and we were just all really having a great time. So I was really happy to see this in portable form. So I'm guessing that, yeah, it looks like, looking at the back here, you can play it wirelessly, challenge up to 3 of your friends in Pac-Man Versus. Friends play as a ghost to stop you from the mission to clear the board. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I'm guessing maybe, though, they probably have to have the cart. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if you can play a single player. But yeah, I always like these, like, having any sort of like retro collection in a portable form as well. It's just good fun. I mean, hey, Pac-Man never gets old, does it? That's like available on absolutely everything. As well as that, I found a copy of Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII, and I surprised myself that I brought this. The guy had only apparently just put it out too for sale. When they have like this pile next to the counter of stuff that's just like about to be put out in the shop floor, and then that was in there, and I looked at it, and I was just like, should I? Because Dirge of Cerberus, I have a little. It's not really a tale per se, but I had a friend at university who played it, and I watched him play Dirge of Cerberus, and it just didn't look like it did a lot for me, really. I watched him play it, and it kind of felt from my memory, was it looked like kind of like a poor man's Devil May Cry, I guess. But I'm probably completely wrong. You play as Vincent, the sort of that cool vampire guy, I guess. But this was a very cheap price. I thought it might be fun to maybe I might do a YouTube video about it of me playing through it. Maybe that'll be fun. And it was a pretty decent price. I was in the back of my head thinking, is there much point of buying this? Will they just put this on PlayStation 4 digitally? But then again, price was so cheap. I thought, screw it. Why not? Let's do it. Let's get Dirge of Cerberus. I used to dig Vincent as a character, even though he was like hidden in the game. So, a lot of people might not have even found him. But hey, never mind. But so that was that really. So I got that. So yeah, CX is a great store though. If you happen to be over here in the UK, I mean, I believe they're in Scotland as well, and yeah, they are around. They're quite widely available. If you're into sort of any type of game collection, they stock everything. They do Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and they now go all the way back to the Nintendo Entertainment System and probably even further. I have never seen microcomputers games there though, so I guess they do have some restrictions. That'd be quite amusing if I did come across a ZX Spectrum console there, but I shudder to think what I'd sell it for, because despite the fact I love it that they stock it, a lot of the retro stuff there is crazy priced. I mean, they had a copy of Doom 64 there that I was quite keen to get, but I just felt that was sold for more than I thought it was worth. Particularly, they had the NES Mini there, that console, which I have. I got lucky and I found that at retail, and I found it for £50, that's what its initial retail value was in a game store. That's our equivalent of kind of GameStop or EB Games over here. And that's literally what it's called, game. So, and they were selling that in CX now. It's sold for like £113, which is it's like twice as much. That's a lot. That's a big price for that. And then they're selling the individual controllers, which I've never seen before. I've never seen a NES Mini controller sold separately, and they're £40. Which is a lot, because I believe those were only $7.99, I think, when they were originally when they were available. Obviously, that system is now being discontinued. Nintendo's not supporting it. So, and this store that I was in had piles of them, piles of boxed NES Minis that nobody was buying. So, so I guess I don't know. I find it kind of baffling. I'm surprised that they still. I don't know. I'm surprised it hasn't driven the price down just a bit, but because people clearly aren't happy paying that price over here. So, and I'm not saying, when I say boxes, I'm literally talking. They look like there was I think I counted at least 10 boxes in that store. You can see them sort of in the background in the store, and people just they're not interested. Like, nah, I'm good. So I'll buy my Switch instead. Because it's almost half the price of a Switch, isn't it? Just get that console. Speaking of the Switch, I also, there's a store called Smith's. I think it's Smith's Toys, maybe. So that's like it looks like our equivalent of Toys R Us, even though Toys R Us is over here as well. In fact, it does feel like a carbon copy of Toys R Us. And so I popped in there too, because I've heard good things from friends that they're pretty good for gaming, and they're particularly good for clearance sales, so for the games as well. So I looked in there, and I'm greeted as soon as I enter that lobby in there. I'm actually greeted with a sale table of toys. Basically, they had a few sort of pop figures going for £3, and none particularly I was interested in, and a ton of toys that were discounted. Went into the game section, and yep, lo and behold, there was games on clearance. They had sort of all the Fire Emblem games, like the Fire Emblem Fates particularly. So it's just Birthright and Conquest for £20 a piece, which is actually a freaking good deal for a Fire Emblem game, considering you'd be hard pressed to find Fire Emblem cheap anywhere. I always thought that, at least over here anyway, I've never seen a Fire Emblem be sold for under £30 or even online. Let me just take a sip of my drink here, because my mouth's getting a little dry. Hold on. And they had a few other sort of random games. They were selling PlayStation VR games really cheap. They were selling what's it called? Until Dawn, Rush of Blood for only £7. I personally don't really have any interest in VR at all, so I just sort of thought, nah, I'm good. Then maybe that's a tale for another time. Maybe I'll talk about my opinions of VR at a later date. They had I almost pulled the trigger on Resident Evil 7 because they were selling that for £30, but I thought, I'll just hold off a little bit longer. So yeah, they had a good sale. They had some good stuff available there, but I didn't end up going for anything there at all. It's funny with sort of the Xbox One. I do have both an Xbox One and a PlayStation 4 now, but I'm starting to be a bit more kind of moved to the digital only platform route with most of those. Unless I see the game like ridiculously cheap, I guess, then I might get it. But or if it's something I really really want and I just can't wait, because I found over here at least a lot of the games are still cheaper retail than digitally, but. Otherwise, I am trying to sort of move more forward to going digital only of most of these consoles, because there's really no point in collecting for those. That's my opinion. There's no point collecting discs for PlayStation 4 or Xbox One unless you have. I don't know. It just doesn't seem. It seems pointless since all those consoles feel so internet based these days. It's just go digital, I think. So that's that, and then finally, but on my little trip out today, I did stop in a game store as well, and I found a copy of Trails of Cold Steel 2, which is a for the Vita. That's the main important thing, because I'm a big fan of the Vita. I still am as well, and it makes me sad that console doesn't do as, it didn't get the. I don't know. Well, Sony, I guess, maybe didn't do the right moves for the Vita. But so if I find a Vita game that I want to play for a decent price, and I jump on it. And the Trails of Cold Steel games are ones I'm interested in. I don't have the first one though, so I have the second one because they were selling it for half price. So I was like, yeah, let's do that all day, every day. So yeah, and it's portable, and it's an RPG, and that game, by the way, the Trails of Cold Steel games are coming to PC later this year, I believe. So if you are interested in those, but you don't mind playing on your computer, then you can always go check them out there. I just need to now try and track down an affordable version of the first one, because there's no way I'm playing this second one unless I play the first one. Well, yeah. So that's my trip out. That was the bit of game hunting there, and that's really kind of what I do. I'm looking at the sort of the sales stuff, the discount stuff, just trying to hunt for a good deal, and as well as get some exercise. But yeah, I think the one I was most happiest with was Fantasy Star. Although I really shouldn't discount Zany Golf though, should I? Because Zany Golf does look pretty cool. Oh, I opened it up too as well, and Zany Golf had a poster for Populous, the original EA game, which I'm really happy with. Actually, it's really good. I'll take a picture of that and put it on Twitter. It's Populous on the Mega Drive, so it looks like basically the front cover of the Mega Drive game. And I love finding stuff like that in retro games as well, when you find they come with like an old retro poster. In my previous flat where I used to live, we had a big stairwell that we had exclusive access to, and I just literally plastered that stairwell with old gaming posters that I accumulated from conventions, as well as retro game posters. And sadly, we don't have that in the place we live now, which makes me very, very sad. But maybe if I get my own property one day, which we'll see if that ever happens with the way house prices are, then maybe I can plaster the stairwell there with game posters. One can dream, can't they? Absolutely. So yeah, moving on, I might as well just talk about kind of what I've been playing, really. Like I said, I don't exclusively, and a friend's the same. We don't exclusively stick to the retro stuff. I might as well just talk about this since I mentioned it earlier. Is Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap? I've played it through twice already, which I haven't done that for a game in general for quite a while actually. I was just so smitten with Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. So I didn't actually get it. My partner got me the Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. Well, she got me she surprised me when she came home from work one day and got me a Xbox gift card. And she says, "Oh, I know you've been looking forward to Dragon's Trap." So she says, "When you get it," because I'd been holding off just because I thought, because I've been trying to sort of save money and stuff and being a bit careful. Then she just surprised me with that. I thought, hell yeah, let's play Wonder Boy. Big fan of the Wonder Boy series myself. So I was very happy to see this existed, and I did want to buy it as well to support sort of games like this coming out. And it's just a remaster in the sense that it is that old Master System game, really. It with warts and all, we've said. It just has a beautiful lick of paint to it and a very good soundtrack. Those are sort of those big changes. There's a few little changes as well. You can play as Wonder Girl now, which is good. I think that's a really good change as well. a good friend of mine, I remember him saying a while ago that he's got a daughter who he tried to introduce to games like sort of Zelda and stuff, but she was always apparently put off because she couldn't play as a girl. So it's good that they sort of just put some kind of like a little simple alteration to a retro game that will kind of appeal to, I guess, to a wider audience. I think that's just great. Wonder Girls a new addition. As well as that, they've kind of put a few hidden challenge rooms in the game as well, which are sort of very difficult, but they're not sort of compulsory. You don't have to play them. They're just for people that like a little bit of extra spice to their game. I haven't completed them all myself yet because they are pretty tough, and they're also hidden. I haven't found where they all are yet, and I'm quite keen to kind of play it the way that retro games used to be played, where I'm not going to just jump on the guide just yet. And I was actually very proud of myself because I did play through and finish it without a guide. Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap, because I should make a confession. If I have played Wonder Boy the Dragon's Trap, but I never finished it. In fact, because I only acquired it probably fairly recently, within the last maybe 5 years, like I said, since I was collecting Masters in games. So I've only played a little bit of it, never finished the game. But definitely finished this version. They've obviously, with you having more buttons, because it's not a Master System, you can now press. You've got the whole Xbox One controller or PS4 controller or Switch controller, because obviously you might have it on that system. And of course the game's coming to Steam later, so you've got all the keyboard, all the probably the controller, I guess, for that. So they've made things a bit more simple. So now you can just use magic at the tap of the button rather than pressing, I think it was up and 2 or 1 on the Master System. And of course you don't have to pause the game to change your magic. And of course, if you had a Master System, you remember you had to pause the game on the console itself. I mean, if you're like me, you used your foot. You just kick that console to pause it. Which just wasn't practical, because all the Master System controller had was the D-pad and the 2 buttons. That's it. As much as I love the system, it's like, boy, did it have some weird design choices to it. But hey, that was the way things were back then. So yeah, of course, you have a pause button on the controller now, and you can now switch your magic and items on the fly and use them with the tap of a button. Simple. I haven't even sort of said what this game is, have I? It's basically like an action platformer, really. This game, Metroidvania style, as they say, although this game kind of predates that idea, but it is that same sort of sense of you play as Wonder Boy or girl, you get cursed by a dragon at the beginning of the game and you turn into Lizard Man, and the game is you kind of going from sort of place to place, defeating bosses, turning into another animal. The animal you have will kind of have different abilities that will help you access new areas, essentially. But such a simple, there's not, it's when I was sort of playing through it, there's not really a lot to say about it. It very much is just going from one corner of the screen to the other, from right to left or left to right in some cases. There's not even a lot of platforming in this game particularly. It's more sort of combat, collecting money, upgrading your equipment, upgrading your armor and stuff. But I don't know, it's something about the simplicity I just love about it. It's maybe it's the help with the assistance with the new lovely hand-drawn graphics and the new soundtrack, which is just really well done, fully orchestral soundtrack. I was very smitten with this game. I was very, very happy with it. So I really would recommend it to anybody. Absolutely worth picking up, and it's very short too. A lot of people, I know that's the cool thing these days, is that short isn't good, which is a shame, because I think that's one thing I like about retro games, really, is a lot of the old retro games are short. And, being older than I am and having sort of responsibilities, and, having a job, and I have other hobbies as well, and I have other projects I'm working on, and it's quite refreshing to be able to play through a game that you can actually finish within a short period of time, and something you can enjoy. And as I just mentioned earlier, the first thing I wanted to do when I finished Wonder Boy is I literally went back and played it again. I've played it through twice already. And when I say long, I guess I should clarify, it's probably you're looking at about sort of 3 to 4 hours if you're experienced at this sort of game, but that number could be a lot shorter if you play through this multiple times. I think if you've never played Wonder Boy, if you've never played a Wonder Boy game at all, you'll probably be looking maybe up to 8 hours, I think, just to kind of get used to this thing, because this game does have a few tropes of there's no map. so you don't exactly know where you're going. Although I feel that the game's like overall big map is not too big, so even if you do get lost, there's not too many options where you could go next. It's not, it doesn't guide you particularly. It doesn't say, "Oh, go this way," but there's not a lot of options where you know there's not too many options available to you. So it usually is narrowed down to somewhere. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm very, very fond of Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap, and I highly recommend it to people. If you're a retro gamer, you've probably brought it already. If you're a Wonder Boy fan, you probably brought it already. I am very, very much looking forward to the next game, which is from a different studio, which is Monster Boy, which I think the original Wonder Boy creator has a hand in. I could be wrong about that. Again, I haven't prepared for this show. I've got no research with me. I do apologise for that. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, because that's going to be a brand new standalone game. It's going to be similar to this game, Wonder Boy: Dragon's Trap, but it looks like it's going to have a lot more to it. So I couldn't be happier. I'm so happy we've got all these Wonder Boy games coming out, because I was waiting for so long for a new Wonder Boy game to come out, and now we have loads. We got loads of Wonder Boy. It's brilliant. So yeah, that's one of the ones I've been playing. I've also been playing with my partner, actually, Stardew Valley, which is kind of funny, actually. There's a little bit of a funny story to that. So I brought Stardew Valley because I picked it up. I saw in the store page before I got it that it said, this is I should clarify the retail box. It says on the back of the box 1 to 2 players. And I thought, oh, that's cute. Didn't do my research for this at all. I thought, oh, yeah, this would be a good thing to play with my partner, because I've always wanted to get into the sort of Harvest Moon type games for quite a while. And I thought this would be a fun thing to share. That's already, I didn't know a lot about Stardew Valley, apart from it was like a Harvest Moon type game. And that's about it. I didn't really read much into it. Got the game, brought it home, and it says 1 to 2 players on the back of the box, but there ain't no 2-player mode in this, buddy. I was duped by so I do a quick, as you do a bit of research on the internet, and then you go on the main page and it says multiplayer is supposedly in the works, but it's like literally like a sentence they put. So I was deep, but it doesn't matter, because we've been enjoying it regardless. A fun little game, Stardew Valley. I think if you're like me, if you feel a bit sort of daunted by the prospect of Harvest Moon, this is a nice little game to maybe ease you into that journey. Because I have Harvest Moon on the PSP. Maybe some people might laugh and say that's not a good place to start. They might say, that's not the one that you want to be playing. You want to go maybe, because there's Harvest Moon game almost on every bloody system, isn't there? So I was in CEX today and I saw that it was on, there's various versions of it on the 3DS, and there's even the GameCube game I didn't even know existed. So yeah, Harvest Moon everywhere. Harvest Moon all over the place. But I always felt daunted. I tried the PSP game and I felt a little overwhelmed by it, actually. I thought, whereas Stardew Valley does quite a nice job of kind of easing you into it, I think, and kind of letting you have things a bit your own way. You can kind of do things I'm sure that's probably the case of Harvest Moon as well. Again, I'm not a Harvest Moon veteran. All I know is that when I go to a Comic-Con, everyone's always asking for Harvest Moon at the retro section. But I've always got to kind of see what all the fuss was about. I just want to join in and have fun too. I just want to know why people love this game, and I want to love it too as well. But now that I've played a bit of Stardew, and I'm really enjoying it as well. And we're sharing the game together. Where like we play like a day each in the farm life, and then we swap between each. We hand the control to the other person. They play a day themselves, and then we're usually commentating over it, which is a massive thrill of gaming, isn't it? Where you can play with someone and then they give you the like the driver's or the passenger seat commentary, like in a car, saying, "No, you do that instead. What are you doing? Don't sell that. Don't. Oh my God." What you just ruined that now, haven't you? These are that gives you a bit of a running commentary of what we've had so far with Stardew Valley. Really got a lot to say about Stardew Valley. I think I would recommend it to everybody in terms of the. Everybody in sense of if you've ever wanted to get into like these farming or sim-like type games, or not sure I'd call it a sim though. I mean, when I think of sim, I think of those like Theme Hospital or The Sims, of course, itself. Whereas this feels just more of a, you can have things your own way, really. You can grow crops, you can do that sort of stuff, or you can go in a mine and literally kill monsters in there. You can go get a sword and things. It's got a little kind of action game going there. And there's just so much charm to this. The graphics are beautiful, like they're these cute little retro sprites. They have this kind of like Super Nintendo feel to them. I thought it felt very similar to sort of Final Fantasy VI kind of style. The music is just great in this game. That's one of the reasons I got the retail version, because it comes with the CD soundtrack, and I am all about those CD soundtracks. Love them, love them, love them, love them. So you can really. I think if you need like direction, or if you're someone that just wants to go, like you just want to play a game and think, yeah, I want to go from point A to point B and that's it, then yeah, maybe this isn't for you. But I don't know, it's a fun like pointless busy work game. I enjoyed it a lot, and obviously we're still playing it at the moment. So yeah, live the farming life you want to live. As well as that, speaking of point A to point B, I picked up Little Nightmares as well, which I mentioned recently on Gaming History X. Not played a lot of it, not played as much as I wanted to. It's a horror game, kind of. Well, yeah, it is a horror game, isn't it? But the reason I say kind of is it's not. I feel that the game's not. I don't know. I don't feel it's a horror experience it appears to be advertised. From what I've played so far, I'm about 2 hours into it. You play as this like cute little raincoat girl who's her sort of face is obscured. It feels very. I thought very Nightmare Before Christmas, very Coraline. If you've seen those sort of stop motion animation style movies where. The animation seems almost deliberately juddered, but the sort of the audio and the ambience in this game is very well done. It's a very eerie game. You know, there's creepy things in this game, but there's no gore. I don't feel there's anything particularly like, you know, graphic. There are some obviously. Well, there's a scene in it quite early on where, you know, which just definitely fills you with dread and stuff. You know, it does that really well. It has this goal. Yeah, because I feel it's more like a dread game, but not really it doesn't have the kind of like jump out and scare you, like boo kind of moments, jump scares. There's none of that, which I think I like a lot. So I like what this game's going for. In terms of what it is, it feels like, I guess, sort of like Limbo or like Inside, even though I haven't played Inside yet. Where, you know, simple controls, you kind of you can grab things, solve basic puzzles. You got a little lighter, so you can like little beacons, which I think are the checkpoints. I could be wrong, or maybe they're just to go towards an achievement or trophy. Although you kind of have a 3D space in this game, unlike Limbo, which is 2D. This one you have access. You can walk up, down, left, and right, which in some areas is a bit problematic because the game does require you to do some pretty pitch perfect jumping, which is a bit difficult when you got to work quickly with the 3D. But despite those little issues, I'm enjoying it. I need to get back to it though. I think it's just, you know, we've just been busy really. But so I do recommend Little Nightmares, and it's quite cheap as well. I got that one physically too because it has a CD soundtrack. I like the CD soundtracks. Are you noticing a pattern here with me? So that's Little Nightmares. And what else have I been playing? I mean, maybe we'll leave it there today. There was one other game that I think I wanted to bring up, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I really should have just written it down, shouldn't I? I wrote down those other three, but I think there's one other major one. Well, I guess I can't think of it at the moment. So, but yeah, maybe I'll talk about it another time. But so that's kind of what I've been going on. So I guess we'll sum up this little podcast. I'm surprised I've almost gone an entire hour. That's kind of impressive, isn't it? But yeah, guys, of course, you know, you can check us out. Check me out at Jamaleus on Twitter. I'm usually on there talking rubbish most days these days as well. And of course, do check out gaminghistory101.com for articles. I know I haven't put a lot of stuff on there recently, but Fred has, and please go read his articles. His articles are absolutely wonderful. And just giving Fred a bit of extra plug time is he did do a stream on Twitch, which is the Gaming History 101 Twitch channel, where he did a kind of a Q&A for the game The Surge, which I know is not a retro game, it's a modern game, but very I watched that last night, in fact, and I really, really enjoyed it, or kind of last night / this morning, I guess, because of how our time zones cross over. And I guess, you know, kind of Dark Souls, sort of. That's what I'm kind of getting from it, but Fred really gives a good analysis of the game, which is something I love about him and what he does when he because he talks about sort of the analytics of the games, like, you know, the mechanics and things, and he answers a lot of questions from the audience about the game. And really, really good video. Really, if you're, because I'll be honest, I don't know anything about The Surge. This game just seemed to just pop up in advertisements just last week, so I don't know anything about it. So videos like that are great to watch when you want to just get a bit more information about it. Probably not a game I'm going to purchase anytime soon. Had I had the expendable income, I probably would, but I don't at the moment. So, but I probably might look into it later down the road. It looks interesting. Definitely looks interesting. Kind of like a cyberpunk, you know, melee focus game with the sort of the Dark Souls feel to it. But I just say at least there's something about it that just doesn't feel completely Dark Souls, because it doesn't have like the Dark Souls Souls like multiplayer stuff, or the co-op, or the the messages, which I always feel are very Dark Souls feeling, because the actual whole like melee system of Dark Souls, a lot of games have done that before, even before Dark Souls. There's a game I really like back on the Xbox called Enclave, a game that some people might, if people even know that game, they might think, "Oh, that game sucked." But I really like that game. But that game was very melee focused. I felt that that was almost like a very early Dark Souls style game. That even had like health potions you drink and everything like that, and it was brutally hard if you went melee, but it was actually brutally easily if you went mage. So it shares some similarities. Hey, maybe I should talk about Enclave at another podcast. But I guess shall we leave it there then, guys? I hope you enjoyed this. I thought it'd be just nice to maybe do this. If you've stuck with me for this entire show, thank you for doing that. Keep listening, keep watching, keep reading, and I'll catch you again soon. Maybe I'll do some more of these solo podcasts in the future for you. Have a good one. Take care. Bye bye.